Hi there. So a few weeks ago, I was asked to give this presentation at Bristol University's Employability Exchange, and it's a 5-minute presentation, and I agreed to do it on the basis that I was allowed 50 slides. So I'm going to rattle through them. There's a 6-second slide, and I hope you enjoy yourself. So my name is James, and for 12 years, I designed buildings as a structural engineer, and I'd worked on a number of projects, including working on the facade of the Tate Modern Extension. I also worked on the roof of the Ferrari Experience, which is a kilometre across at places. I worked on Oxford Brookes University, where I led a project team where we designed their £80 million extension. I worked on the Leeds Sixth Form Centre, which is where I used to go to school, and is a lovely little timber box building and probably my favourite. I worked in the Staunton Primary School, another timber frame building where I was involved in the early design. I worked on Woodland Burial Park, where I did lots of calc checking and also did some design, again more wood. And I worked on Springfield Community Hub, where I led the design team, and another building that was a mixture of reuse and made from wood. And the thing is, everything that I did it from an office, and so this is where I worked. And so 5 years ago, I left being an engineer, and I decided to become a teacher. And the reason I did it is because I wanted to, I guess maybe a little bit naively, I wanted to change the world, and I just wanted a bigger impact. And so I've been teaching timber engineering for a few years now, and about this time last year I thought, well, how can I make timber or wood, how can I make that a unit that is as memorable as possible so that when my students go out they can design buildings. Also, I was thinking about space and learning space, so I was thinking about these two things together. And I've been asking myself this question, so where do we learn? Where do we learn when we are learning to drive? And hopefully the picture tells its own story. Where do we learn when we are learning to swim? Where do we learn when we are learning to become a doctor or a dentist or a vet? And where do we learn when we become an engineer? Now, I hope you can excuse this. It's not actually completely fair to say that engineers learn everything in a lecture theatre. In fact, we deliver a whole load of different environments where our students learn. We send them out into the lab, and here they're making and breaking concrete. We send them out onto site, and they can have a look around and see real buildings as they're in the construction phase. We put them into design studios where they work on a whole load of very authentic projects, designing buildings and bridges, and we send them out into the field where they go surveying and they learn how to survey the land. So we actually create all sorts of environments. But the one place we don't seem to replicate as a learning environment is the office. So this year for my master's level timber engineering units, students are going to be learning in an office environment. And so I created my own pretend company that they come and work for. And my company is called Just Timber, and it's got its own logo and its own brand and also its own joke. Thank you very much to the student who did that. It's got its own calculation pad, its own mug, they get pens, they get books, they get their own notes. It's got its own office space where they come and work every week. And there's lots of inspirational pictures up, and it tried to make it feel like its own office. It's got its own breakout space with magazines and books, nice plants, comfortable chairs where they can look and talk. It's got its own entrance to the office with the company logo on the door on the way in, and of course it's got its own tea point where they can make teas and coffees of all sorts of different flavours and hopefully chat about things. And a few weeks ago it was my birthday, and so I brought in cake for everyone to celebrate, just as you would in a real office. Now, employees, they're not students, hopefully they think of themselves as employees. They come and work for a day a week for 10 weeks, 9 to 5, and then at the end of the day they pack up their stuff, and they've got these big boxes, and we put in all their notes, their folders and everything else. And the way they learn is not by lectures. In fact, there are no lectures. Instead, I've created a whole load of pre-reading, so there's lots of notes to read, and also there is a series of videos for them to watch which explain the basics, which hopefully, there we go, you can see this is one of the videos which I created, which goes through the whole design process in about 15 minutes. Employees work on 4 authentic projects. These are projects that either are real projects or they could be real projects. I present them with real briefs. These tell them what is required, what information will be given to them, what outputs they need to do. with real drawings, things that they might actually be given as sketches at the beginning of a project which they work on. Real context, actually locating projects in actual environments where they can imagine that they're designing things with real clients. And this is Dave from the Bristol Old Vic, who came down and presented to the student and is acting as the real client. The first 3 projects are designed to teach employees all they need to know about timber. It helps them to build up their knowledge. The 4th project is designed to assess what they've learned, and hopefully it enables them to pull all of that learning together. Now, I've written loads of blogs. These ones aren't about the Just Timber project, but kind of relate to other aspects of what I've just talked about. And then here is all 11 blogs, episodes 1 to 11, which cover what I've been talking about and what I've been thinking about in terms of teaching on this unit over the last 12 weeks. And I really hope that you have a good look around in those and that you enjoy them. Thank you very much for your time. I've loved teaching at the office, and I hope you enjoy learning all about it.